what's going on with this person? You said there were gaps in your knowledge when you let this guy go and didn't realize you didn't know what you didn't know. Same thing happened with my boss. He didn't realize that my misery had nothing to do with my job. It had to do with my personal life. So I would say maybe step one is make sure you've got the full story before you pull the trigger.
Yep.
Make sure you really know what's going on professionally, first of all, and then to some extent, try to figure out what's going on personally, because I think oftentimes there's reasons why performance can dip that has nothing to do with work. And oftentimes we're too scared to ask or just don't have the relationship there to really know what's going on. So that'd be my recommendation. Number one, make sure you really know what's going on before you pull the trigger.
Yeah, I think I would phrase that as, I'd say I phrase it as like, seek to understand and be curious. Don't assume and react.
Yeah,
that's good. If you assume you know what's going on and you react to it, then you're probably going to miss something, as opposed to just seek to understand the situation and see if you can come to a better conclusion.
Other one I would recommend is, you mentioned EOS and the get it, want it, has the capacity. I think so few organizations that I've worked with really construct their values in a way that are, I'm going to use the word discriminatory. And I know that's an inflammatory word, but I'm using it on purpose. It's because there should be great people that you do not want to hire because they don't fit your culture. And if your values aren't, again, the best word I can come up with is discriminatory. Like if your values aren't clear enough to weed out good people, I don't think your values are good enough. And I've seen a lot of companies that have just have poor values. Integrity. That's the worst value I've ever heard, because nobody's looking for the guy with a lack of integrity.
Hey, Daniel, I'm going to need you to pepper some more integrity on that report you wrote, please.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think for many people, they end up making this decision harder for themselves because they've not done the hard work. They know they're not a culture fit, but they can't say why. They've just got a bad gut feeling. And then you're firing somebody for a gut feeling, but that's a downstream consequence of the fact that you've not done your homework on your core values.
Yeah. So let's hit this one on a couple of angles. So like EOS is a phenomenal tool. The People Analyzer is the kind of the tool itself, or EOS great framework. People Analyzer is the tool, and there's two components of it, right? There's the culture component, but if you don't have a clear set of behaviors that you expect, or if you don't have the role defined for get it, want it, have the capacity, but that means like, what are the 3 to 5 accountabilities that person's got to be held to? So let's go both ways. Like if you're an employee and you don't know the 3 to 5 behaviors you're expected to live by, you should ask for those. And if you have core values on the wall that say integrity, honesty, and awesomeness,
teamwork,
there you go. Then you should ask, like, what behaviors do you expect of me to live those? And then secondarily, if you don't have the accountabilities, if you will, like the measurables, then you should ask, what are the 3 to 5 things, of job outputs you should expect from me that is going to say if I'm doing a good job or not? What's the scorecard? What are you going to measure me by? And if you get kind of a nebulous answer, well, your fate is as flipping a coin.
Yeah. And I think that needs to be a two-way street. I think obviously the onus is on the leader to write the job description and to define the values. But I think there's also ownership on the part of employee. Like the employee's got to push there and say, look, I don't have a job description. I want to do a good job. And I don't know what that looks like in your head. I know what it looks like in my head, but there's a big risk that what the picture in your head is not the picture in my head. And we're going to get sideways at some point in the future. So let's spend some time defining what it would really look like for me to do this job well. While not easy, I think it actually makes the hiring and firing conversation if and when that has to happen, it's so much easier.
Oh, when you can come in here and say, look, these are the behaviors we expected, and here is how you didn't live, these 2 or 3, it's a lot easier for them to go, okay, I see how I did. Or we expect these 3 to 5 outputs, measurable scorecard items to be achieved. And here's how you've been, behind the bar for 6, 8, 12 weeks. It makes it a lot easier to go, yeah, I've not done that. Yep. It makes sense to me. it sucks, right? Firing people, terminating, whatever reason, it sucks because you're changing somebody's livelihood. But at the end of the day, if they were if the expectations were clear and they were underperforming, they probably will be seeking a new job before you terminate them, or they're going to be in line with why it's happening as opposed to a blindside.
Yeah.
I think that's it can smooth out the layoff process because there's clear on what's happening. It makes the situation less sucky because we're very clear on what the expectations are.
I have not met very many people. I've met a few, but I've not met very many people that wake up and want to suck at their job.
Yeah.
There's a couple, right? But most people want to do a good job. The challenge is that they many times don't know what it looks like to do a good job. And that's, that's the fault of the leader, of the executive, who needs to define the job description, define the values, define the behaviors, so that employees can do a good job. And or they can self-select out. They can say, look, if that's what you really want, I don't want to do that. You should go find somebody else.
Yep.
And that's actually, some of the best separation conversations is when it ends up being almost mutual, of like, you want this, I want that. These things are not the same. Let's find a way to part ways. But you're only going to get that when you've done the hard work to create the clarity up front.